Hey, good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning. Yeah, month of October. It is pretty crazy watching all these movies on the, what is it, the cinema channel? Old movies about Dracula and stuff. So I'm just like, oh my Lord. But no, there's some pretty interesting stuff out there. Give me one second. On Facebook. Yeah, been watching the news stuff, the thing with the fires out there, the things with the PG&E and stuff, and I'm worried about California, but not really, but I am because I have family that's out there. And, you know, I remember all the stuff in the conspiracy world that I covered. And so, it there's really like not a lot of things we can control, but there are a lot of things that we can control as well. Okay. So it's knowing the difference between the two and just listening to the indicators and not making the same mistakes as other people. I mean, there's a lot of things about the J juice that is going to help you survive the next phase, whatever that is. Okay. Survive, live, however you want to call it. And well, yeah, I mean, it really comes down to like reaction versus intention. Okay. Because it's like right now in the health and wellness, all the protocols out there in the allopathic holistic are in reaction to. There's no intention to harm people. There's no intention to kill anybody off. Even out there in the regrouping of the restructuring of our infrastructure or the lack thereof in some parts of the world, like California. I mean, we have our power lines underground, okay, over here in Ohio. And we don't have the type of industry and business that California has, but for some reason, California has all their power lines outside. And so why is that? I mean, PG&E makes millions and millions of dollars, billions of dollars, and they could have systematically upgraded all of their power lines back, out there, but they don't for whatever reason. And then we see these websites like America 2050, where they are doing some kind of planning, planning the land development, restructuring, all of America and California, and trying to bring in, sustainable development, biodiversity, which you understand what biodiversity is. It's allowing all different types of life to grow, not just humans, but also plant life and that type of thing. So, I mean, and we know that there are corrupt people out there. There are people that have malintention. We know that. Or they don't have malintention. I mean, maybe they do, or they are doing things illegal. Okay, that's malintention, that's corruption. Okay, we know that exists. It's not like we live in a pure society where everyone is like, everyone's benevolent and doing everything out of the kindness of their heart. No, some people have ulterior motives too. Okay, we see that already just in our own world. If somebody's bullying you and doing things to you, then that happens on a bigger scale away from you. It happens like way out there in high levels of government. So if you're getting bullied now by somebody today, by somebody in your world, then yeah, we have people in high levels of government that are bullying or doing stupid stuff behind the scenes that we don't know about. Okay, it happens. I don't discount it. Okay, I don't. Hey, Angie. Okay, so, but then we also know that not everything goes to a vote. Some things just happen and they're pushed through because it's too chaotic to try to ask the people, well, should we go and move this and restructure this and do this? And sometimes government and corporations do what they have to do for the good of society, even if society doesn't think it's good for them. Okay, and that's just like with the vaccine industry. And so it's now you have to really look at the difference between reaction and intention, because right now, health and wellness is a lot of reaction, and a lot of people are presuppositioning that it's intention. They're trying to kill us, or trying to depopulate us, or trying to do this, trying to do that. No, that's not happening. As far as the PG&E and the fires and the power lines, and I was listening to the videos last night of the fires. That now all these fires are cropping up. It's crazy. All up in, well, down in LA, okay, in just remote areas, and you can all, speculate on how those came about, and that's fine. Some people say it's directed energy weapons. I have no idea. I'm not even I'm putting it out there as a possibility, but whether it is or it isn't, it doesn't even matter. Okay? The indicators are there. The conspiracy community has kind of primed us in the potential. Do we know if it's intention, or do we know if it's a reaction? It could be a combination of both. We have so many people on this planet, and I remember saying that, we have a lot of people on this planet, and we have room for everybody, but not everybody is smart enough to live symbiotically with nature. So now I have to go back and say, okay, let me clean up what I said before. I said, okay, yeah, everybody can live on this planet, but not everybody knows how to live on this planet in the right way. What is the right way? Where they're healthy, where they're living symbiotically, where they're not destroying their environment, where they are allowing where they're not allowing their kids to destroy other people. Okay, so it's not even just about allowing life to happen. It's the quality of life. It's the quality of people. Okay, and so it's like, so that has to come into play too. So it's not about quantity, it's also about quality. Quantity is just a number, but when you have so many messed up people, they can do a lot of messed up things in a collective level, and we're seeing it already. So now I can kind of see now why it is that Planned Parenthood exists. I can kind of see why they are, they're not trying to hurt people, but give people the choice. Okay, as far as having babies, I understand that. Where we're allowing people to make the choices to pull their own plug, not to prolong someone's life if they're on like some machine, okay, that Kevorkian, I guess, has a place, I guess, okay. So I see kind of both sides of it, because we are seeing a lot of things in our society that we shouldn't be seeing. People killing each other, people bullying each other, people destroying the environment, crimes are being committed. And so, and then also too, the environment is being destroyed. Okay, there's no doubt about it. You look at California, and there's so much homeless, and there's so much pestilence going on out there. California is under, and you could say that Gavin Newsom is corrupt, and he's catering to the special interests, and it is allowing California just to go to crap, which I wouldn't be surprised that potentially is the truth. But no matter what, this planning of the high-speed rails and the cordoning off and the biodiversity, and trying to get people out from the rural areas and bringing them in more to the cities, which, okay, fine. At some point there's got to be a restructuring somehow, somewhere, because of the amount of people, and they're not all quality people. Yes, life is beautiful. All of you that are living is beautiful, but we have a lot of people that are not very quality. They're bullies. They are predators. They don't care about their kids, or they don't care about themselves. And, as much as we want to sympathize with their plight because they had a bad childhood, or they were born with a disease, or born with some kind of shortcoming, it still comes out the same that, we have people that are just that don't care. And so the government has to kind of figure out how to balance that out, and also balance out the environment and balance out the people, and then give them enough freedom, but then also watch out for the ones that are really going haywire, and make sure that they're not going to do any kind of damage. And so then you teeter on an Orwellian society, because now we have so many glitchy people, but we have to now watch and see what they say. Are these indicators? When someone writes on Facebook, things that are very questionable, where they're thinking about taking their life or somebody else's life, they have to now go and pay attention to that, because now we're seeing people enact things they say on Facebook out there in the world. So it's like, I feel bad for the government in a lot of ways, because they have to find a way to maintain a certain level of peace, but then also have to adapt to the changes of the society, even when society isn't ready for them to adapt to them. And that's a very fine line and a balance that I don't envy them having to do. So no matter what, no matter how you feel, change is going to happen. And luckily the J Juice is there for you guys to help manage these changes. Okay. And so, first, you have to understand reaction versus intention. And when you are in reaction to something, it's because there was lack of proactivity, lack of planning, that type of thing. And so that's kind of what the health and wellness industry is all about, is about reaction. And then of course, all these political things with the fires and with politics and with the I don't know, the elections. Then there's intention. And does it really matter? Where does it really matter? How you're going to deal with all of this crazy changes. Okay. And that's what it comes down to, because I was looking at like viruses and vaccines and weak people, and no matter what, I mean, when people say like, well, the vaccines are not supposed to work, this, the flu vaccine is going to be ineffective, this. Well, what does ineffective mean? What does it mean when a vaccine works? Okay. And that's one of the biggest misconceptions out there, why we have such a pro-vax and an anti-vax politics. Okay. Vaccines save lives. Now, it doesn't mean that it's going to give you the quality of life that you're looking for if you have a weak body. Okay. But these are the assumptions of everybody, the anti-vax and the pro-vax, that, when somebody is a pro-vax and they get a vaccine and then the kid has a reaction that is like, holy crap, then you have all these anti-vaxxers that are listening to this pro-vax mom completely describe her situation, and then now she turns anti-vax because she wasn't expecting this huge reaction, this adverse reaction out of that vaccine. So in her eyes, that vaccine didn't work because her kid is now sick. Well, I thought that the vaccines don't make you sick. No, see, this is the thing about adaptation and weak bodies, okay? And right now, the vaccine industry, the health and wellness industry is in reaction to so many different people communing together, and weak people. It's not, we don't have strong people in our society. Yeah, we have superficially strong. Yeah, they build muscles. But when you think about it, when a person gets sick, and that when they get symptoms, it means that they are weak. There's a weakness. Okay? When you have hormonal imbalances, you have a major weakness. And so when you get hit with a virus and now you're all mucusy, you're headachy, you're throwing up, whatever, you just strengthen that virus. Okay? And so weak people make these viruses very, very strong, because it gets passed from one person to another person to another person. And when you get symptoms, it means that your body is now trying to adapt to this new change. So if, let's say your kid comes home from school and they're all sick because somebody was sick in that environment, and they come home and they gave it to you and now you got it, well, that basically is showing that everybody is weak in that environment, and they're trying to adapt to that new change, and they're weak at the same time. Okay. So it's like, okay, so our health and wellness industry is all about reaction, and then mischaracterizing what it means that a vaccine works. Okay. When you get a symptom or you don't get a symptom from a vaccine, it means it worked. People are just like, how do you even look at that? What the hell? But that's true. Because I can say, see, people vaccinate each other. Okay, what vaccines are is just an exposure to a virus, or immunizations or immunity. It's just exposure to a virus, and the body builds up antibodies, and then it's strong against that. So if you ever come across it again, the body can fight it off. Okay, that's what vaccines are, and immunizations are. so when you get a reaction, it means the body's adapting to it. If you don't get a reaction, that means you already adapted to it and your body's strong and you are not going to suffer, and you're strong enough. Like, I could be around someone that's sick right now, around a new strain, and I won't get any reaction, because if my husband is sick, it means it's a new strain, because his body didn't recognize it, and he wouldn't be he would be asymptomatic if he was strong, or if his body already dealt with it. So the fact that if my husband ever gets sick, it means it's a new strain. And if I get sick, it means that my body was weak and I just mutated that strain, and then I pass it on to someone else who is just as weak as I am, and then they get that new strain and mutate it, and then that's where pandemics happen. So we all vaccinate each other. However, how in which you react to that exposure, whether it's from a vaccine or a sick person, okay, is based upon your strength or your weakness. Okay, so what does it mean for vaccines to work? It means that either you get a reaction or you don't get a reaction. That's what it means. Okay, the intention is not to kill anybody, but here's the thing. This is where people have the speculation the government's trying to kill people with vaccines and prescription drugs. It's because a person is that weak. A baby is that weak. An elderly person is that weak. But they would be weak anyways, no matter what. And then they get exposed to that virus in their natural environment, in their nursing home, in their in-laws' home. And let's say like this elderly person who's 85 years old, okay, and they're living in a multi-generational household where there's kids coming in. These kids are bringing home all this stuff from daycare. And so if that elderly person doesn't have some kind of protection, some kind of antibodies to guard against that aggressive virus, guess what? That elderly person, grandma, is going to pass away. Okay, so that's why it is they are trying to give to the weaker people some version of it, some weaker version of it. But hey, if your body's that weak, no matter what, you're going to then trigger symptoms, and those symptoms have names of diseases. Okay, so vaccines work by having a reaction or not a reaction. That's how you know the vaccines work. So when someone says, oh yeah, this flu season, the vaccines are ineffective. No, they're very effective. But the perception of the anti-vax community is that you don't ever get sick. If you get a vaccine, you should not get sick. Or yeah, and so that's the wrong perception. But the medical industry, the medical holistic industry, also deals with remedies. And they deal with painkillers, and they deal with demonizing disease and warning people against disease. And so they're already hypocritical by which in way how they market their remedies and how they market inducing sickness to be able to adapt to the environment. So they're playing both sides of the fence, and then people are saying, hey, I'm calling you on this shit. What the hell? And that's why you see such confusion. Okay? And so that's then how I'm able to then say how the J juice is just like the vaccines, which is like, what the hell? They're like, you're trying to kill us, Jillian, with all of your J juice. No, because you're getting symptoms because you're bringing up the weaknesses with the right context, nutrition. The body's trying to adapt to a new environment because you're bringing in a new environment, a new chemistry to alter your biochemistry to now finally be on a death trajectory or on a life trajectory instead of a death trajectory. Excuse that one. Wow. Okay. So it's like, so it's a transition. So the J juice is like a vaccine. It's a transition from an old environment that was causing you harm and on a death trajectory to now a new environment. And the symptoms are going to be the same no matter what. Weaknesses are weaknesses. When you have a symptom outside of the J juice, it's the body trying to survive. It's your insurance policy. Every single cancer, disease, and chronic illness is an insurance policy. Okay, but it's still a reaction to the fact that man doesn't want people to die. Because let me tell you, every single one of you most likely should not have lived. Not every, well, I don't know. There's a lot of you, because a lot of you have a lot of generational glitches, weaknesses, predispositions. And the fact that you're able to be here today to bitch about the medical industry shows that the medical industry actually did its job. The vaccines saved you, biotech saved you, because let me tell you, if it was left up to Mother Nature, none of you would be alive. Because I'm telling you, back in the 1300s, babies were dying, a lot more. Mothers were dying. Mothers and babies were dying because they were both weak. They didn't have modern medicine to help them go through their hard pregnancies. And every time that you drop seeds, it's still a risk. Reproduction is a risk. Pregnancy is a risk. But the fact that some people have really great pregnancies is because they're relatively healthy. And then they also have modern medicine to kind of help them along too. So you're like, how does this woman, man, I'm looking at the Real Housewives, and this girl, Cameron, she's on the Southern Charm. Okay, I love watching the Real Housewives Southern Charm Bravo channel. And Cameron, like, she's this cute little blonde girl, totally cute. She has one baby. Her husband's like an OB, obstetrician, delivery, doctor, and she's just this cute little 30-year-old blonde chick, totally tiny, and she has a baby, and her body bounced back. She looked like she never even had a baby, and she's all perky. You're just like, what the hell? And then you see another person who is just like, and they're having a hard pregnancy, high risk pregnancy, and they look like they've been run roughshod through the ringer and all that stuff. You're like, what the hell? And it's the genetics. The genetics is some people have predispositions. They had negative mutations to their genetics where they had a hard pregnancy and it really destroyed their body. And then this Cameron chick, blonde chick, cute chick, she's got some great genetics, probably had access to medicine, had probably access to more resources than another person. And so she's able, and also to great genetics. And she's also able to have a baby. And some people are able to have like 10 babies and they look great. Okay. But that's the thing, is that a lot of us really shouldn't be alive. But modern medicine has allowed us to be alive. And so the fact that when you get sick or not get sick from a vaccine, it means it worked. Because your reaction or non-reaction to any modern medicine tells you the state of your body. So if you are reacting to modern medicine and their preventative measures, then it means you have a weak body. It's not their fault. It's not biotech's fault. It's not, the vaccine industry. It's not the CDC's fault. It's not the FDA's fault. Okay? So, so it's like the intention is not to kill you guys, but the state of your body and how you and your belief systems is what's causing people's, death and all that. And so, when I'm looking at the skies, I'm looking at these chemtrails, right? And, I acknowledge them. There's something going on. I mean, yeah, they can call them contrails. That's fine. And it is what it is. But do we know what the intention? So are the chemtrails and the contrails, is it a reaction to something that they know they're not telling us, or is it an intention? And so we have people who are so messed up thinking it's an intention that they're trying to kill us. And then they run that same thought process through them, the vaccine industry, through biotech. And then that's when all these conspiracies, or everyone's trying to kill us, or the government's trying to kill us, come out. And then people are freaking flipping out. Or is the chemtrails in reaction to something that we don't know? Is it really global warming? Is it climate change? I mean, it's anybody's guess. Okay, we haven't been around long enough, really, because every generation dies off every 100. I mean, when you think about it, there's like 5 generations that are living, I think, right now, and then 3 of the generations, it's like really, when you cut it in half, it's actually like, we've only been around with these vaccines and biotech for like 300 years. Okay, because 1796 was when the first vaccine. So that's 18, 19, 20, 18, that's 200 years, 300 years. I mean, when you look at how long really we have been a society with modern conveniences, it really isn't that long. And the fluctuations of the universe and the environment hasn't really been that long for us to really take notice of any long patterns. Because when you think about 300 years ago, it was like, in the 1700s. Okay, it was like the Renaissance period, or then you have like the Dark Ages and all that. And it's not that long ago. Okay, it really isn't when you think about it in the scheme of things. So we have no idea what's going on, but we know that there is a restructuring of America, of the world. Some may call it the New World Order. And yeah, okay, brave New World Order, the Old World Order, the New World Order, whatever. But now you have the chance to survive it and live and actually watch it unfold and sidestep anything that could potentially be deadly to you. That's the whole thing with the J juice, is that we have an intention to bring up symptoms to deal with the past, present, and future weaknesses, strengthen the body to be able to now listen for the indicators and sidestep things that some people would just stand there and just be like, duh, and they get hit. Because you're not going to change the government, really. You're not going to change other people's way of doing things when there's so many different people on a collective level believing one thing. Okay? You're not going to change people, really, unless they want to change. And when you want change in a society, it happens through a biochemistry. And then why we have our society the way it is because we have a belief system to be in reaction to cancer, disease, and chronic illness, all these different methodologies, vaccines, which, okay, fine, detoxes and prescription drugs. And so now you see a mass biochemistry that is relatively, similar with, and then you have the education system that then, which is fine because we need people to understand how to live in our society and how to work and how to abide by the law. You need the educational system. Homeschooling can really only take you so far. Eventually, you got to get out of the bubble of homeschooling and learn how to work with different people, different ideas, different, handicaps. Okay? So the whole thing with the J juice is no different than the vaccines. If you get no reaction from J juice and you're drinking massive amounts and you're looking like you're 30 years old and you feel amazing and you see and you're doing the waterfalls and you look, everything is proportional and you are, and you don't have to take any kind of remedies and and you're like on your mark, then yeah, that's where I'm at. Where I can drink a bunch of my J juice and not have any kind of healing symptoms. You know why? Because I fixed the weaknesses. What if I were to take a vaccine? Would I have an adverse reaction? Well, I'll wait and see. I don't mind being exposed to somebody in the environment and I wouldn't get a reaction. If someone wanted to shoot me with a vaccine with whatever kind of virus, it may upset my homeostasis for that minute in time, but then my body will be able to recover from that introduction to a new entity, because that's what vaccines are. It's just new entities. It's really, when they're saying that there's like aborted fetus cells and there's all these like human DNA and things that are in there, that really is your environment. Because when you actually take people, like what they're doing with the kind of push people from out the outskirts and push them into the inner cities, to keep more of a wash because people are going crazy, you're going to be around so many different types of people who are running viruses through their weak bodies. Already when you go to a city and you're eating food, breathing the air, touching people, okay, you're buying clothes or making your food and all this stuff, okay, you're getting the human DNA already, breathing it in and eating it. The processed food supply, even the organic food supply, has human DNA in it. You're like, oh, how does my organic food? I'm going to go and but then what happens when people are eating organic and they're only growing their own vegetables and farming their own animals, which, okay, fine, but they're not getting the massive amounts of data. Okay, so when they're trying to live in a bubble and only eat grass-fed beef out in the country and only eating organic food out of their garden, they are now depriving themselves the ability to adapt to a thriving society. So when you're living in such a pristine environment, okay, and there's a balance, but when you're in such a pristine environment, you're on a farm somewhere out in the middle of nowhere around nobody, okay, fine. If you want to live by yourself for the rest of your life and you don't want to interact with anybody, fine. Go live out there in your bubble. But as soon as you come into society where you're dealing with so many different people and so many different viruses and bacteria and all this stuff, and you don't want to get vaccines, guess what? You will be overridden by the amount of data. And that data is the viruses, the bacteria, the human DNA, the pestilence and everything that you're trying to avoid. And that is why the vegan and vegetarian world and all of the different diets and the people that are trying to live pristine are setting themselves up for failure. The ones that are afraid of the vaccines are setting themselves up for failure, because these vaccines are going to be a reflection of the future. They really are. Because when you see more people are moving closer into the cities on top of each other, or they're in these homeless encampments where you have people who are very, very weak now coming down with all these different diseases. And yeah, the bubonic plague is probably going to come back at some point. It was eradicated back in the 1300s because all the weak people died, the elderly and the children and the immunocompromised. And then you had that, that fluctuation or the population go down significantly from that. And then people were procreating on really strong bodies. And so that never came up. Then you had the vaccines, and the first vaccine was like the smallpox vaccine. And that saved people, and the polio vaccine, all these different vaccines, okay? But now we have, we have very weak people. We have people that are living close together. And so you're going to have all of these viruses run through each other, and people are going to be communicable. And are you going to be able to adapt when you're living your organic lifestyle, trying to avoid the vaccines, trying to avoid anything that could be potentially sick? No, you have to learn how to adapt because it's changing, okay? It's changing. Now you have a bunch of weak people hanging out together, strengthening these viruses. I'm telling you, the organic vegan vegetarians are going to succumb. And you're seeing them glitch. You're seeing the fear. I mean, I'm watching Jason Christoff just, oh my God, this guy that he's a workout dude and he has all these followers and he's condemning Sesame Street because Sesame Street is now introducing or helping kids deal with parents that are drug addicts. It seems like it happens a lot more. And there are kids that are dealing with parents that are drug addicts, and they don't know how to, and they don't have any representation. So Sesame Street is then reflecting the environment and covering that because they know, I know parents that are drug addicts in my world, okay? Whether it's marijuana or opioids or something else, we have a lot of parents out there that are strung out on drugs. And kids need something, because I used to watch Sesame Street, and it was very, very back then, it was in the 80s. And so, things weren't as crazy as they are today. Okay, so it was very benign. It was like, oh yeah, I don't even remember, but I remember just learning how to say M and the alphabet and all this stuff. And now it's like our society is that much more intense. We have drug addicts for parents. We have so many things that go on in our society, and kids need something to see that they have some support in this, because not everybody in their world has parents or drug addicts. So if they see it on TV, they don't feel left out. They feel like, okay, it's normal right now because that's the way it is. I mean, it shouldn't happen, but it happens. And these kids need to see, how to deal with that. And Jason's like, oh no, it's the New World Order trying to now brainwash your kids into being drug addicts. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Okay, but that's what I'm saying. You're seeing people just become so tunneled. And it's just, and that's, and the virus, and then they're so afraid of everything. And we're going to have to, we don't have to end up to be drug addicts. We don't have to end up to die and have cancer disease and chronic illness. But it's happening because people cannot adapt. They have the inability to adapt, and they're so afraid of their environment and so afraid of everything because they have weak bodies. I look at, the California fires and all of that, when I'm seeing, here's the thing. I didn't know all this conspiracy stuff way back when I'm trying to leave California. Okay. So I tried to leave California way back in 2010. Actually, I tried to leave California way back in 2000. I moved to Mississippi. I moved to Hawaii. I moved to Washington. I moved to a lot of different places. I wanted to get out. There was so much wrong with California, not just even with my own life. I was dealing with my own disease and my own issues, and nobody was helping me in California really. It was just like, oh, go see a doctor. Oh yeah, here's a drug. And I'm like, I don't want to do drugs. I don't want to be anesthetized. I don't want to be on Prozac or any kind of antidepressant. And so I'm like, okay, but every single time I leave, I bring myself with me. So all that crap came with me anyways. But finally, I got out of California. Okay. So, you know, maybe subconsciously I knew something was going to happen, but I was also in, you know, Mississippi 5 years before Katrina happened. If I would have stayed if I would have gotten that job in Mississippi back in 2000, I was trying to go for it. You know, I was working at the casinos in Mississippi, just slinging drinks, you know, and a bartender and cocktail waitress, and had a lot of fun gambling, and it was great. And then I was like, you know what? I'm tired of doing the bar scene and staying up to all hours of night, you know, gambling and all that stuff. I'm like, I want to go and get an office job. And so I went to Kelly Services down there, and they're like, you don't have any experience. We're not going to hire you. And they never called me back. So I'm like, all right, fine. I'm going to go back to California. And that's when I started, you know, getting into the office and all that stuff. But if I would have stayed, if they would have given me a job, I would have stayed there. I would have been in that Katrina thing. I would have been floating down, hanging out with the alligators, going like, what the hell? Because Katrina was a major disaster. And I was living, you know, in Biloxi. And that got hit hard on Katrina. So I've kind of escaped by the skin of my teeth every kind of places I've gone to. And so, you know, so there are indicators out there. And when there's indicators, you make a change. When you see that you have cancer disease, chronic illness, and symptoms, you make changes and you figure out, well, aside from, yeah, trying to find all these detoxes in pills, powder, supplements, but there are indicators there. And even if you do know there's detoxes in pills, powder, supplements, at least you're trying to make a change, but maybe you're not applying the right thing. And so now this is where the J juice comes in, where it says, hey, symptoms are an indicator that the body's trying to adapt, but you have to give it what it needs so you don't have those symptoms ever again, and not just covering up with drugs. Okay? You have to bring in the right elements. And then what the specific measurable result is, not just disappearing the symptoms, because that's just, you know, that's just a very superficial way that they do that in the allopathic holistic, is let's disappear symptoms. But now let's take it a step further and let's reverse the aging process. And then let's change the biochemistry. So now your outlook isn't like everyone's trying to kill us and the government's trying to kill you with vaccines, but no, there's a reasoning behind it. And if you get a reaction or don't get a reaction from a vaccine, it works. Okay? So a reaction and a non-reaction from a vaccine shows the vaccine worked. Unless they're shooting you up with nothing but water. No, if there's actually something in the vaccine, then it works if you get a reaction or you don't get a reaction, because now that vaccine told you the state of your body. If you get an adverse reaction from a vaccine, you have a weak body regardless. If you get no reaction from a vaccine, your body was able to adapt, or it's already been exposed. Either way, you're fine. But no matter what, you still got to upgrade your device to be able to handle the environment, especially now with the changes where, yeah, the PG&E is not going to upgrade the infrastructure. And it's like a slow boil. They're going to cause change whether you like it or not, and either you're going to adapt or you're going to have to deal with every single year. I mean, I'd be surprised if PG&E, well, I'm surprised why they haven't taken those power lines and buried them underground. Especially with all of these past issues with the fires, the Berkeley fires, the Oakland fires, and all that, you would think that systematically they would go and start taking those lines underground, but no, they don't. But there's a reasoning behind it. And then you have America2050.org, and they're showing you how they want to reposition and restructure America, and then have the high-speed rail lines then take you. It's almost like Hunger Games, okay? And it's not a bad thing. Maybe we need to let biodiversity come back, because there's so many people who don't care, destroying the environment and destroying themselves and other people too, okay? And so no matter what, change is going to happen. And so just do the J juice and adapt to the changes and sidestep things, and then listen to indicators and act accordingly, and try not to have so much wanting for material things that really you don't need. I mean, I can enjoy my life without having to go and buy new clothes every year. I can enjoy my life without having to buy this cute little Fendi purse. Okay? These smart cities are, you know, I went to a smart city actually this last summer. I was in Virginia. And, you know, I was near Washington, D.C. I was in Virginia near Washington, D.C. It was about maybe 40 minutes from Washington, D.C. And it was really a smart city. It was cool. I mean, I don't mind it. Okay. And, you know, and I don't need much to be happy. you know, go out to dinner here, you know, maybe take a trip here and I don't know, make some food here and watch a movie here and maybe hang out with a few people here. I mean, I have a very chill life. Really, my biggest love is my dog and my husband. My dog is probably the best thing that's ever happened to me, because she's making me see past just myself. If I didn't have my dog, I would just be by myself. And then with my husband, you know, who's out on the road a lot, I'd be just by myself. So my dog is like the best thing. And so I don't need to go out and ripping and running, going to bars and going out to eat all the time. I mean, I enjoy a very chill, you know, very, you know, just calm life where I think about how do I improve my world and how I improve the world at hand, and understand the world that I live in, understand how the world works. Because if you're going to be here for a while, then you're not going to be on this rat race trying to compete with somebody else, or trying to you know, acquire all of these things before you pass away. That's why you have the rat race. So I had to get out of California because it was killing me. You know, I mean, I was very competitive in California because I had to be. I was in sales. When you're in sales, you have to show that you're that much better than the other dude. When you're selling the same product with the same type of company, I mean, when you're selling insurance, what really is the difference besides that? Okay, we can give you a discount, or, you know, my agent is that much better at customer service, or he can give you a good deal. And you have me, because I always sell myself. I'm on your mark, I'll take care of you, I'll make sure that nothing, you know. And so you really have to know how to set yourself apart from the rest. And it's exhausting trying to continuously sell against someone else that's selling the same product with different, you know, perks. So, you know, I'm very happy with the way that my life is. It's very chill. And if I had to go back into the rat race, I would, but I wouldn't necessarily go back to the same profession of like a call center where you're trying to beat somebody else out with no, I would do something a bit different. But so yeah, so it's just, you know, the J juice allows you to kind of just step back and look at life for what it is. It's life. And the reason why everyone's in such a hurry to accomplish things is because they only have 100 years to live, if that, 50 years for some people. And so they're running and hurrying and going, I got to accomplish this, I got to accomplish that, leave a legacy for this and that, blah, blah, blah. You know, I was watching Ellen DeGeneres show, you know, yesterday, and Michael Douglas. I mean, he's like, what, 75, and his dad's like 103. And I'm like, damn. But they're looking like the Crypt Keepers. They don't look, they're not 103 and they're looking like me. What I want to see people is 103 looking like me. That's the specific measurable result of J juice. But that takes time. That takes commitment. That takes you guys freaking slowing down for a minute and actually putting, you know, the energy towards getting your body at the level that you want it to be. And then, but, you know, it's okay to be competitive and try to do J juice, because some of you are selling homes, some of you are in competitive fields. I understand that, and you want to make your buck. I get it. Completely understand. And so it's all a matter of what your goals are. Okay, but there's no sense in making all this money if you don't have a plan for it. And where it's not going to be this thing that's going to hold you down or drag you, you know. It's how are you going to utilize that money, and for what reason, and is it going to help you as well as humanity? Is it going to be imbalanced or balanced? I mean, so that's the things that I look at, but I know that not everybody does my life, which I understand. Some of you are in high level positions or in the sales industry, and you're competing against other people, and now you have an edge because you have J juice. I think that's awesome. Now you just don't want to let, you know, the competition, the competitive edge, like, suck the life out of you too. There's a balance, okay? Just learn how to balance it all so you can still keep giving your minerals and then recouping them too. So yeah, I mean, as far as humanity, the two things you get from humans is currency and disease. Those are the two things, and I would rather get the currency instead of the disease. How would you get, now, how is that? I mean, how did I even think of that? Because I'm thinking, like, you know, we have 7 billion people on this planet. At some point, there's going to be a huge mass whatever where a lot of people are going to pass away for whatever reason. You have so many, because it's going to happen, a tipping point. Mother Nature is going to take back her power because man has manipulated them so much with biotech and vaccines, and which are fine. The biotech and vaccines gave you all life, gave you the reason to be here, because most of you probably shouldn't have lived if it was left up to Mother Nature. So I'm thinking at some point, you know, Mother Nature's going to take back her power, and those that are very weak and very compromised, no matter how many vaccines, no matter how many prescription drugs or how many natural remedies you do, you're not going to survive the next major pandemic, okay? Because there's going to be those, just like you know, the recession in Wall Street. You know, you have your great days and then you have your recession days, and that's no different than the fluctuations in humanity and population, okay? So, you know, so when it really comes down to it, it's either going to be disease you're going to get from somebody because you're that weak, or you're going to get cash from somebody, or their currency, or their love, or their companionship. And so when I think about it, you know, when I think about the world at hand and who I'm hanging out with, what would I rather get from people? Well, I don't want their disease, but I do want their currency. But currency doesn't mean just money. It also means their support, their companionship, their love, even their hate, because it shows that they're giving me energy and let me convert it, and it's still a currency. Energy is currency. Okay? So, but that's the two things people get from humanity. They either get disease, they get the fear, or they get the currency, the love, the support, the ability to keep living. And so all what I do is like free currency for all of you, but I get something back from it too. Okay? So you guys can take my energy and convert it and to make your world better, and to know how to navigate now the changes. Like in California, for Craig Griffin, it's not a bad thing that these fires are happening. It's not a bad thing that, yes, there's going to be a little bit of chaos, because maybe there needs to be any kind of change in society. You have an upset of homeostasis. When you do the J juice, it's not going to be all fun and games when you do the J juice. You're going to have to feel symptoms. That's the body adapting to the new environment. Okay, and it's for good. No one's coming in and shooting anybody up. Okay, they're letting you know we're doing rolling blackouts. And maybe that's an indicator that, you know, fires are going to happen, whether it's intentional or reaction to, it doesn't even matter. But somebody's giving you an indicator. Please be aware, make the necessary moves and the changes so you don't get into harm's way. And so that's what you do. You just listen to the indicators, regardless of how you're feeling about it. But if you're going to assume the worst and think that this is going to be the fall of society and everyone's going to die, then yeah, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You will not live through these changes, because you'll be so worried about, oh God, you know, they're doing this, versus you actually upgrading your device to handle the upset of homeostasis, the change management, the adaptation process. And no different with J-Juice. If you can't handle the changes out there, like with California PG&E and all these different crazy things politically, there's no way you're going to be able to handle J-Juice on the most local, personal level. If you can't even handle what's going on out there, and it's not even really affecting you, then there's no way you're really going to be able to handle the J-Juice. And it shows. That's why when I see people still, you know, hemming and hawing and fear-inducing and so about the chemtrails and all about the anti-vax, girl, boy, you don't even know what you're in for with the J-Juice. That is like nothing compared to what you had to deal with personally with your own biochemistry. So that's why the activism doesn't have a place with J-Juice, because if you can't handle what goes on, the changes out there, that doesn't really affect you going to your mailbox, then my God, you're not going to be able to handle the chaos of going through the J-Juice protocol, because that's even more intense than watching stuff on YouTube. I watch the YouTube stuff because I'm like, oh yeah, these are indicators. There's changes going on. What do I got to do to prepare for these changes? Okay? So it's like, no matter what, how are you going to deal with the changes out there? And then if you can't handle changes out there, there's no freaking way you can do J-Juice. And yeah, you're not going to survive regardless. So yeah, it'll be a self-fulfilling prophecy for a lot of you. So I mean, I giggle and I chuckle, because it's like I've been telling you guys, change is going to happen no matter what, and either you're going to survive or you're not. I mean, I don't focus on the conspiracy so much because, you know, there's always a conspiracy. We have people in families that conspire to go and kick somebody else out of a family. Conspiracies happen. But, you know, but how they manifest and the intention behind it is based upon your biochemistry. Okay? A reaction versus intention. Is the intention to kill people, or is it a reaction to, and you don't know, but what but your perception of any kind of scenario, whether it's PG&E or the fires or the New World Order, you're going to perceive it through your chaos or your balance. Because believe me, if they want you dead, you'd already be dead. We wouldn't have modern medicine to help people. We wouldn't have the public service announcements to let you know. We wouldn't have the internet to allow people to exchange information. The fact that Facebook does censor some people because people are passing along information that will cause chaos and cause people to actually enact violence and criminal activity in real time. That's why Facebook censors people, because they see that this person is now really whipping people up into criminal activity. The indicators are there. Okay? But no matter what, you know, just because, you know, just like any company, when they're going through a major change or they get taken over by, acquired by another company, there's going to be, you know, redundant positions, and people are going to have to get fired and laid off and let go. It's going to happen. Change is always going to happen, and you just got to learn how to work with it. Not everything is going to be the same thing all the time. I'm aware that my life right now could change at any moment. Am I prepared for it? A little bit. I do have things in place if anything does happen in my world, but you never really can anticipate what may happen. So you just got to keep rolling with the punches. Do what you got to do. Okay? So always just prepare for the worst, hope for the best, and adapt. And then try not to have too much baggage. Okay? Because when you're so worried about all of your things, that's a lot to guard, especially when you're in a place like California where, you know, you're going to have no power and the place is blacked out, and we have, you know, malicious people trying to go and steal stuff. And I have no emotional, you know, I don't have any emotional attachment to things. The only emotional attachment I have is to my husband and to my dog. Everything else, I can really give a crap. On my phone and my computer. But that's it. But even then, my computer's replaceable. Okay? I mean, I love my family out there in California, but they have their own life. I hope that they survive the world, but the ones that I'm immediately concerned about is my dog and my husband. Okay? Everyone else will figure it out how they're going to adapt to all the changes. So, you know, do the J juice, learn how to sidestep stuff. And if you can't handle the world out there and the changes out there, then that's already an indicator that J juice is not for you. And it isn't, because people who are still afraid out there, they're not doing the J juice. I let 2 people off my Facebook. They're still major activists in the chemtrail world, and they tried to do J juice, and they thought J juice was like a cure, and they were completely flabbergasted. They had to deal with pain on the freaking protocol, and I'm like telling them, hello, this is not a cure. And so yeah, so if you're an activist out there still worried about everything and political, and you're anti-vax, and you're anti-change in California, anti-PG&E, well, hey, you know, whatever, anti-this, anti-that, anti-Trump, anti-Obama, I'm telling you, those people aren't doing J-Juice, and the J-Juice is not for them. They use J-Juice as a cure, because J-Juice could be used as a cure temporarily, but then you can have all these other symptoms. Like this one lady was asking me through email, like, what do I do for vaginal discharge? I saw this, and I'm like, I could easily tell her, go douche with the juice. But when you douche with the juice, you might have other symptoms come up, okay? And if she doesn't understand the protocol and she tries to use J-juice as a cure for her vaginal discharge, and she's like, oh man, I got a yeast infection, or oh man, well, not a yeast infection, but oh man, I got this, or I got that happen to me. And I'm just like, so I don't even answer those emails. I let Lillian answer, and she uses it as a benign answer. Here, just get the book, send us a receipt, we'll get you in the discussion forum. And then you got to understand the J-juice on a larger, grander scale. But yeah, when someone is trying to use a juice as a cure, they don't get it. When someone is so afraid of their environment and afraid of the politics and afraid of the changes out there, especially with the UN Agenda 21 and afraid of the America 2050 and afraid of the New World Order, there's no way they're going to be able to handle the J juice, because that's going to be a change on a very local, personal level that, believe me, if they can't handle the stuff out there, they won't be able to handle it right there within them. And they're not going to survive no matter what. So it is a self-fulfilling prophecy for those of you who are afraid of your environment and afraid of the changes out there. And that's your own fault. It's not my fault. You have the chance to do the J juice. You all have the chance to go and change your biochemistry and then learn how to adapt to all the different things that go on. And if you don't do the J juice and you still succumb, then you have no reason to bitch. Okay, you have no reason to bitch. So anyways, that's all I got. But yesterday there was that orb. I don't know if you guys saw yesterday in one of my videos. And I did actually share that video with saying, hey, did you guys see this orb at 19 minutes and 03 seconds? And I tried to like screenshot it, but it's just too fast. It's too fast. It wasn't like just floating around. It was like a thing that came out from the ceiling and came down. And I'm just like, oh, crap. So, I mean, I have company. I don't see it, obviously. Like, you know, if I don't look through this, I don't see anything. But it's just interesting when you utilize electronics that you're able to see certain things that, you know, these anomalies. And I watch a lot of Ghost Adventures, and, you know, and I, you know, and it's like, we know there's entities out there. We know that there are people who are disembodied, that don't have the acid, the nucleic acid to actually build up the human flesh. It's just their energy, that biochemistry, that residual energy left on this earth. And, you know, it's just interesting to see, and how it just automatically came out. You know, I hear noises in this house, but I have one mouse. I've gotten rid of most of the mice that were in here because we had a microwave that was really tall that was on the counter, and then there's like a hole in, like a knot hole in one of the cabinets where my food was. So I saw the mouse was hanging from that, and that's how they were getting into the food and everything. And so now I took away that microwave, put it somewhere else. And so there's nothing on the counter, so, and there's no food for them to eat, and they can't get to that food in the cupboard because the microwave isn't there. So that one mouse is only there when I cook food on the stove and leave it on there for a minute, and I saw that one mouse is there. But that's it. I don't have a whole bunch of mice. I don't see any more mouse poop on my counters or nothing, because there's nothing to eat. So I know that I have a mouse that makes noises, but there's also other weird noises. But that's okay. I mean, I'm fine with living with any kind of spirit, somebody that passed away, that's just, you know, making themselves known for whatever reason, as far as just that little anomaly coming through, because they're not coming through now, but something I said yesterday made them materialize. And so that's interesting. And so you can watch that video that I shared yesterday where it says, hey, has anyone seen this orb at 19 minutes and 03 seconds? And yeah, and someone said that you said something about, you know, believe, or you have to believe, and then she's like saying, and she's characterizing it as like, yeah, it's like a validation to what you're saying. So who knows? But I do acknowledge that the spirit world does exist, and we don't have to end up there where we're disembodied. But if you do, it's because now if you're introduced to J juice, it's because of your own choice, that you've allowed your body to get that bad to where the body goes, but your biochemistry still stays as a residual footprint until you find another body to inhabit. Okay? And then you start all over again until you get it right. All right. That's all I got. Yeah. I got to take care of some stuff. But you guys have a good day. And I'm a little more mucusy this morning, but I'm not sick. But I know my body is getting rid of some excess bacteria that I've been exposed to. So, you know, that's pretty cool. So I know my system is upgrading based upon the changes in the environment. I mean, no one has been here except for me, except for my husband. But you go outside, you know, viruses float around. You know, the air is full of stuff. So, yeah. You see your sugar. All right. Well, you guys have a good day. Thanks for listening. Do the J juice. Oh, and by the way, those of you who are who are new, if you want to do the J Juice, go to jillyjuice.com, JILLYJUICE.com. The book, it's in an ebook version or a paperback version, and it's like either like $9.99 for the ebook and then like 19 or 20 bucks for the paperback. And send me the receipt to that email or screenshot it through private message. I'll add you into the discussion forum if you're a friend. If you're not a friend, then just send us an email, and then myself or Lillian will then invite you through the email address attached to your Facebook account. And then you read the book and you understand the recipe, the diet, and the protocol, what to expect. And some of the science in there, like some of the things that I've said in there, I'm going to retract. Like I was anti-vax and demonizing soy in this book, but I'm going to be taking that out in my next book. But really what you want to pay attention to is the protocol, the list of items and the ingredients, and then what to expect. And then the group is there for you to share your experiences and maybe get some clarifying questions about what to expect as far as the recipe and what to look for, or clarification on the diet, but not asking us what to expect as far as healing and how long and what do I do for this. We don't give anybody any remedies on any of your symptoms, because you know, if the J juice doesn't alleviate your pain, then you got to deal with it, or you go find a holistic doctor, or there are ways that I have in my book that tells you how to manage some of the symptoms using the J juice, like for topical or douching or enemas and all that stuff. Okay. So, you know, that's the first step. If you want to do the J juice, is just go get the book, send us a receipt. I'll friend request you. Doesn't mean I'm going to be conversing back and forth through private message, because I don't want to have that happen. But you'll have access to my team as well as to me on some level. And that way it'll help you transition onto the J juice, so you're comfortable with just starting the process. Okay. And there are testimonies that say some people are doing it like 1 teaspoon a day and they're seeing results. Some people are doing a quart a day. Some people are doing a gallon a day. You know, it all just depends on what you're willing to deal with as far as the healing. And everyone starts off differently. And you just have to just do it. Even if it's just a little bit in the beginning, just do it. Drink water and then watch, you know, and just pay attention to your body, and stop being an activist out there, because it's really not going to do you any good when you're putting your energy and wasting your energy on and your money and your currency on things that give you no return. Just do the J juice. Let everybody who is dealing with like the blackouts and the fires, let them figure out how to lead their life, and you just lead yours and exemplify. And then don't try to like introduce it to people that when you are not even doing it yourself, or you're kind of doing it but not really, or you're trying to introduce it to a stranger. No, you can drop the seeds of J juice and say, and how you can actually introduce this to somebody that knows nothing about you is that you say, hey, I've been doing this J juice. I'm getting these healing symptoms. It's expected, because pain is healing, and I'm not anesthetizing myself with drugs, alcohol, or sex. And these are my results. I've been on it for 2 years. And then you give that to somebody to then say, okay, oh, wow. Okay, and speak to their listening. And then they go and look at my videos. They go and look at my website. They go and look at my YouTube videos. They go look at my Facebook Live. That's how you introduce this. But you don't try to say, hey, you should do this, and that's it. You give them a reason why, and then give them access to my Facebook page, to my YouTube videos, because I have blocked a lot of people too. So that's why YouTube exists, for those that I have blocked, because I'm not trying to not give people access to this. But I don't want trolls doing stupid stuff, diluting the message. So that's why I have YouTube. That's why I have a business account, because I do block people. And so they still can see the information, even if they can't converse with me. Okay? So I'm not a malicious person where I'm trying to, like, you know, pick people off, and by blocking them, you can't have access to the information. I just don't want you in my world because you're toxic. Until you do the J juice, I don't want you in my world. Okay, so anyways, that's how you introduce it to friends and family, or you want to start it. Okay, give people access to this information. Let them make that decision. It's not you to try to ram it down their throat. You give them access to the info, they'll make that decision. All right, bye.